She was buried in silence, but she did not stay in her grave. In 2013, a young woman's coffin was stolen from a rural Chinese cemetery in the dead of night. Days later, villagers whispered about a midnight wedding where the bride was already dead and the groom would soon follow. What began as an old tradition to comfort lonely spirits turned into one of the most chilling ghost marriage cases in modern history. The knocking from beneath the earth, the sudden deaths, and the man who vanished without a trace. Tonight, you'll hear the story that authorities tried to bury, and the terrifying truth about what really happens when the dead are forced into marriage. If you're brave enough, watch until the end, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where in the world are you watching from. It's a story that begins in the quiet corners of rural China, where old traditions linger like shadows in the cold night air. A place where the past is never truly buried, and sometimes neither are the dead. For centuries, there has been a custom in certain parts of China known as minghun, the ghost marriage. The belief is simple, but chilling. No spirit should wander the afterlife alone. A man who dies unmarried is thought to bring misfortune to his living family, his restless ghost lingering, yearning for a bride to follow him into the dark. And so they find him one. In the old days, families would arrange for the body of a recently deceased woman to be buried alongside the man. Sometimes it was consensual, agreed upon before death, but other times it wasn't. Which brings us to a small village in Shanxi province in the cold winter of 2013. It began as these things often do, with whispers. A family mourning their only son who had died in a work accident. Far from home, he was young, unmarried. His parents believed he would be lonely in the afterlife. They wanted to arrange a ghost marriage, but there was no willing family to provide a bride. Not long after, an older man in the village quietly told them he knew someone who could help. The price would be high, but the bride would be perfect. He promised them she would be young, beautiful, and freshly buried. The parents didn't ask too many questions. That same week, in a village 30 kilometers away, a family discovered something horrifying. The grave of their daughter, buried only 2 months before, had been dug open. The coffin was gone. There were no footprints, no signs of animals, just cold, wet earth and the empty space where she should have rested. In Chinese tradition, disturbing the dead is one of the most unthinkable taboos. The family reported it to local police, who began investigating. What they suspected was part of a larger operation: grave robbers who supplied bodies for illegal ghost marriages. The police found nothing, no witnesses, no noise heard during the night. But privately, the grieving family heard the same rumors about a man in the next county who had just buried his son, and about a wedding that had taken place in the middle of the night. Bride's body is dressed in a red qipao, the color of joy, and also the color that ties a spirit to this world. Her hair is combed, her face touched with makeup, so she appears alive. Beside her, in another coffin, lies the groom. The coffins are placed side by side, lowered together into the earth. The families exchange offerings, not smiles. Firecrackers are sometimes lit, not for festivity, but to confuse wandering spirits and keep them from interfering if the whispers were true. This young woman, stolen from her grave, had been dressed in red. She had been buried again beside a man she had never met in life. No one knows for sure if it was her. Her family never saw her body again, but strange things began to happen soon after the grooms. At first, they thought it was animals, until the knocking began to come in patterns. 3 knocks, a pause, then 3 more when they went to the gravesite. They found nothing unusual, But one of the pallbearers, a man in his 40s, confided to a neighbor that during the burial he had felt resistance, as if the coffin was shifting, as if something inside was trying to push back. He swore he saw the young bride's hand twitch before they lowered her into the earth. The man tried to convince himself it was just his imagination, that his mind had played tricks in the dim lantern light. But within days he fell gravely ill. By the third night he was delirious, muttering about cold fingers pressing against his throat. Like this, such stories don't travel as mere gossip. They are carried in whispers, the way people speak when they know something has been set loose. The bride's family, still grieving, performed a Taoist ritual at the empty grave, an attempt to call back her soul. The priest burned paper offerings, silver ingots for wealth clothes, for warmth, and a paper effigy of a small red wedding bed. He chanted for hours. When the ritual ended, he told them something they would never repeat to outsiders. He said the girl's soul was not lost, but bound not to the groom, not to her own family, but to the man who had stolen her from the grave. The police investigation eventually uncovered a small network of grave robbers operating in rural Shanxi. In neighboring provinces, their trade was simple but horrific: find a recently buried woman, take the body, sell it to families desperate for a ghost bride. Prices could reach the equivalent of several thousand US dollars a fortune in some villages. When the robbers were finally caught, the leader confessed to targeting women who had died young and unmarried. The fresher the body, the higher the price. In his words, the spirit must still remember what it's like to be alive, but in this case something went wrong. Anyone touching them, his livestock, were found dead without a mark on them. The man himself vanished. His cell door was found unlocked one morning, the guards swearing no one had entered or left. Only one thing was found in the empty cell: a small scrap of red silk stiff with dried earth. The locals say the girl finally found him, that she took him to the same cold place she had been forced to go, that now they are buried together somewhere no one will find. Even now, families in rural China still whisper about ghost marriages. Some still believe they bring peace to lonely souls. Others avoid the topic altogether, fearing that even speaking of it might invite the attention of those who are still searching for a partner in death. If tonight's story gave you chills, don't forget to like and subscribe for more